daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.
Let's go. Get up on you gonna learn today.
Daddy, chill.
Call me Daddy.
Welcome back, boys. I'm stoked. This is our first interview. My first interview. And I'm excited because I didn't think this person was going to be my first interview, but because this person is my first interview, it makes total sense. It makes total sense. So I don't even want to give this person an introduction. I'm going to bring him in right now, and we're going to talk cards. We're going to talk Bowman. We're going to talk about a special card that this person hit. Let's go. I'm entering him in right now. Monty Siler, the owner of Best of Ohio Sports Cards. I can say that, right?
Yes, you can.
Nice. Monty, I appreciate you coming on. It's hard to gauge this hobby because it's so, I tell people all the time, it's so small, but it's so big at the same time. And I'm going to just let everyone know who you are. Monty Siler is the infamous Drew Jones Superfractor Auto Puller. Take us through that, and then we'll kind of wrap around on some other things.
All right. So we've kind of developed it within our family. I'll call it a tradition now, where for about the past 5 years, got my father involved in the hobby. And whenever we make a road trip, could be to a sporting event, could be to a trading card show, could just be going on a 2-hour ride to go to the lake or something like that. The tradition we developed is we always bring something with us to open while we're in the car because just too much time to kill. So about a month ago, we were headed down to the Reds, big Reds fans, headed down to see the Cincinnati Reds play the New York Yankees, and arrived at my dad's house. There were 5 of us going. My dad, myself, my 2 sons, Mason and Bill, and my daughter, Mia. And I knew he had some boxes of Jumbo Bowman from 2023 sitting at his house. I'd received them directly from Fanatics. And so I'm like, I think I'm going to recommend maybe we take those with us. Obviously, nothing more fun than Bowman to rip. Enjoy it the most of anything. If it says Bowman, it's a big hit with me and a big hit with my family. So I said, hey, let's take these 4 boxes along with us. We did. We hopped in the car. My son was driving. My dad's in the front seat. We had driven about 45 minutes, and nobody said anything about the boxes. I was holding a couple in my lap, and I finally said, hey, does anybody want to rip one of these? Got no response from anybody. Crickets are talking. So I finally just said, well, I'm going to pull the outside wrapper off of this one. I did. Just started passing out the packs. Passed out one to my son, one to my dad, one to my daughter. Couldn't give one to my oldest son. He was driving. So start ripping. Hit a couple autographs. Nothing special, but I knew we were looking for 3 autographs. Got down to the last 3 packs, and I handed them out. My son Mitchell, he was in the back seat with me. He's a fast opener, rip, goes right to the middle. He's got nothing. My daughter, at this point, had kind of lost interest, so she's just holding a pack in her lap like, okay, I'll open this in a minute. And as I'm just not really paying attention to what's going on, I hear my dad up in the front seat who enjoys the trading cards, but he's not really one of those guys you would say is really into it like we are. I hear him say, is Drew Jones any good? And I look up, and as I'm looking from my seat to his seat, I see the autograph, and I can tell it's not red, it's not blue, it's not gold. But all of a sudden, the sun hits the corner of the card just right, and I see 101. And I was, goodness. I didn't know what to say. And I just said, it's the Superfractor. And at that point, everybody in the car, my son that's driving, he immediately looks over. He takes the car out of my dad's hand, And it's like nobody knows what to say. And my dad still is like, what's a superfractor? Is it good? What's special about it? And he finally says, what's the card worth? And I said, well, Dad, I said, I don't know if you can say what the card's truly worth, but I can tell you that right now there's somebody that's willing to give $250,000 for it. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, there's a bounty on this card. Well, at that point, he said, I remember you telling me about that, but I did not put two and two together when I pulled the card, and I clearly didn't know it was a superfractor. I just saw the autograph, saw the name. That's when I said, is Drew Jones any good? So really, we had about 20 minutes drive left. We spent that 20 minutes still saying, can you believe this? Nobody really knew. It was like an out-of-body experience almost. Like it's something you never expect to happen to you. Like who would have ever bought a box? If anybody bought a box and said, I expect to hit this card, they're just saying it to say it. Even my son, Mitchell, he's made comments that he knew it was there. Yeah, truly nobody expects to hit a card like that.
No. I actually knew somebody who he had stockpiled like 50, 60 cases, and he kept telling me, I got it. And I was just telling him, dude, do you know the percentage that you think you have that card? I said, do you really want to know? I said, I'm going to tell you right now, you don't got it, man.
Yeah. We tried math on our end, and some archaic math we did. We think there maybe was 11 or 12 million packs that it could have been put in between hobby and jumbo. And
yeah.
It's something you never expect to happen to you for sure.
So you were aware of the bounty?
We were aware of the bounty. We were aware of it from the very beginning. Just saw the post by David Adams. Really had never heard of Drew Jones before that. Learned a little bit more about him. But yes, we were aware of the bounty before we pulled the card.
Yeah, I was so skeptical when it first, because I get David Adams their point. They're like, hey, we put out this bounty. We sell wax. We're going to make our money back. 250,000 is really not that much in the grand scheme of things. If they're moving, I actually did the math on it. I was like, if they had $100 extra per 10,000 boxes they moved, that's $1 million. Like,
right.
They're good. They're good on the bounty, right?
Right.
So I was skeptical at first because I'm, a part of my brain, I have a little conspiracy theory in my brain. And I'm going, wait a second. David Adams puts out a bounty, and then David Adams is the one that's breaking the news about the card being hit. And then they have a picture of the card with the David Adams watermark on it. So my head is like, my brain's just spinning. And I'm texting all my buddies. And one of the buddies I text was my buddy AJ. And if you guys don't know who my buddy AJ is, he helped me, for the listeners and viewers out there, he helped me kind of get wax back in the day before our page was growing. And lo and behold, AJ built a relationship with your son, Mason, 2+ years ago over DealerNet buying Bowman Sapphire cases.
Right.
And
yes.
AJ was the middleman between you guys and us. And in a way, you and your son sort of created the Bowman in us, right? We were always Bowman guys, but without that supply of Bowman Sapphire, you guys had, I remember him saying, yeah, I think Mason said they have about 90 cases of this stuff. And I'm going, oh my God, I want it all. I want it all. And so that's one thing. I said it last week on my podcast. I said relationships in this hobby are like the biggest thing. It could further your brand and your company so much further. So it could further your brand. And the relationship that I built with you guys and I had no communication with you guys. It was through a third party. And then here we are, full circle, interviewing you about the biggest Bowman card in the last 5 years, and only because of that bounty, I would say.
That's right. Yes.
And were you hesitant at all on the 250? Like, did you get a phone call and, because everybody out there, if you don't know, David Adams had a $250,000 bounty if you wanted to cash in, or you could wait till he makes the Hall of Fame and get $1 million. Were you
Never,
hesitant at all?
no. How we talked about, it was really as simple for us as just kind of doing the math and saying, well, in order to make the Hall of Fame, you're going to have to play 15 years at that level, maybe more. Then you got to retire, so it could be, 25 years. And, for one thing, my father, I've told this before, even though you're interviewing me, my father owned the box and my father pulled the card, and he's been kind enough to share all of that with us because he feels like we're the reason that he even knows about the hobby. But, my father's 80 years old. So, obviously it made no sense from his standpoint. He's the ultimate decision maker. There's no reason to even think about that as far as trying to exercise the $1 million part of it instead of taking the 250. So,
yeah, of course. I mean, can you imagine him just imagine if you would ever just stash those boxes and never rip them, and that card just never surfaced.
Yeah, that could happen because, you talked about getting the cases from us. That kind of all started with Bowman, with me, back in 2000. Not as early as Trout, unfortunately, but when Steven Strasburg and Bryce Harper hit in like 2011, 2012, 2010, Bowman, all of a sudden those boxes just started shooting through the roof. And so I became a collector of wax at that point. I loved the cards and collected the cards, but I became a collector of wax. So I was buying cases of 2010, 11, 12 Bowman and just sitting on them. And then as I saw that, then I went to other sports and other, other products, and really became as much a collector of unopened wax as I did cards. And so that's how Mason and I, we started saying, well, these sapphire products look like they're going to be very desirable. So we just started buying them up early when they would come out. And as you know, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I'm sure you're right that we had at least 90 cases of it at one point.
I do remember because my buddy would talk, my buddy AJ would talk with Mason, and it would be, okay, we're going to get 10 this week. We're going to get 10 next week. We're going to get 10 next. Like, we were just like in this circle, and it was perfect for us because, and like I said, I feel like you guys had a reasoning for us. I gave myself the name, the Bowman King. And it was only because of that influx of product. And at the time, I played baseball and I played college. My business partner, he played in the minor leagues. So we're that type of person. We just know baseball. We know the prospecting side of things. And so Bowman was just everything to us. And yeah, so that's why I said, like, I think you guys played a big part in us becoming and having that sort of title in the hobby. And a lot of people, like, they just know me as that now.
Yeah.
And because of how much 2020 Bowman we ripped between hobby, jumbo, sapphire, all the stuff that we've done. So it's crazy. Like I said, how the hobby comes around full circle, and how relationships, you never know when that relationship can come back. Because when I was talking to Mason before I got you on, Mason's like, hey man, I think you deserve to talk to my dad. I think you deserve to have an interview with him because of all the business you gave us back in the day, and how well versed we are in Bowman, and how just like, this was the most unheard of bounty of all time when it came to a baseball card. And quite frankly, I would say the card is only worth about $50,000 today, just based on how he's doing. Where would you put it if you had to, if you actually pulled it and there was no bounty? What do you think you would get for it?
I think without taking any grading, and the card was and still is, I'm sure, in really good condition in our opinion. But I think you're exactly on the money. You could build an argument maybe 75. I think anybody that goes above 75, as far as thinking that's a value on that card right now, I think they're off base. So somewhere between 50 and 75,000.
Yeah. So, okay, I gotta ask this question. You got a Reds hat on, man.
Yep.
The most electrifying, exciting player right now is playing for the Reds. What are your thoughts on Ellie De La Cruz?
I think Ellie De La Cruz brings a skill set to the game that there's only a couple other players that can even come close to him in a lot of that. And he affects the game right now, even if he's not hitting, he affects the game. Last couple games that I've watched, I mean, he hits a routine ground ball and they don't get him out. First base, guy can't get there fast enough. Yet yesterday, late in the game, he hit a routine ground ball to third base, and the guy rushes so much that I don't even think even a good throw gets him. But throws straight in the ground, a one hopper. And so when you can do it, and then when he does make contact with the ball, the outs he makes are loud. He just, it's super exciting. And I don't think it's a coincidence. No matter what his stats say, it's no coincidence that the Reds have become the hottest team in baseball right around him getting called up from the minor leagues. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I have to touch on that too. So, some people say, one man can't really make a team better in baseball, but a player like that who can beat out routine ground balls, who can turn a single and a single into a double into triple, and brings that sort of energy, it brings everybody up. I mean, all the other players on the team are like, okay, I'm going to bust my ass down first base now. I'm going to step up. And I don't think I've ever seen a player like him. Last year we got Julio Rodriguez. He came out and was a gangbuster in the home run derby, and that was wild. And Julio is that, like, he doesn't have that, like, Ellie has this just flair to him. He brings just this energy, and every time he swings a bat, you're just like, you hold your breath, like, is he gonna hit this 120 miles per hour over the fence? Like, I've never seen it before.
Let me comment on that. Last night I'm listening to the game, and one of the announcers is Jeff Brantley. He was reliever for a long time with the Reds. And he made a comment I never thought about, but he said, this guy, when he bats, puts so much pressure on the pitcher because if they make a mistake, it may not be a home run. It may be a home run that's talked about for years. And no pitcher wants their name associated with a home run that's talked about beyond that game. And I thought about that. It really is true. I mean, the first home run he hit almost left the stadium. I've been to a lot of games, and I've never seen a ball hit as far as he hit the first one he hit. And, so a pitcher goes out there and they're like, if I make one mistake with this guy, I'm going to be on Sports Center, and I may be in highlight reels for the rest of my career for the wrong reason. So, not many.
Oh, yeah.
Strike that fear for sure.
I can give a story to that. My buddy pitches he's in the Dodgers organization right now, but he came up for the Rays, and he gave Aaron Judge hit his first home run off of my buddy. And to this day, he's like, fuck that guy. I'm in every highlight reel that shows Aaron Judge's first home run. I'm that pitcher.
Yeah.
And I think that does. And coming from a pitcher myself, there's home runs you give up and you're like, yeah, whatever. I made a bad pitch. And then there's home runs you're like, man, that guy absolutely crushed that ball. And then it just sinks in your brain forever. And Ellie just has, he's going to just break all these stat casts, and his size you can't even put it into words. His height and the fact that he's the fastest from home to third it's just it's really unbelievable. And I think Ellie is going to be what Otani is currently doing with organizations now, where people are looking for the two-way player.
Yeah.
I think teams are going to start looking for that 6'7" shortstop that could hit, that, that has all those tangibles, instead of that like cookie cutter shortstop that everybody, oh, you got to play like this to be shortstop. He plays like he has a build, he doesn't have that build, he's just like O'Neal Cruz for the Pirates. O'Neal Cruz has he's like 6'7". So I think more people are going to go for that look, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So, when did you guys get into sports cards? I know you talked about buying, but how long have you guys been in sports cards?
If you take away me as a kid and then a big gap, we got back into sports cards in about 2003 or 2004. And both of my sons were very young then. They would have been 10, 12 years old, a little bit younger. But that's when I stumbled upon a card shop close to me and started going in, started buying again. So about 20 years ago.
That's around the same time as me. As I got in 99, 2000. Brady was the first card that I purchased. It was a Brady collegiate. I want to say it was the Fleer collegiate card. And then from there, I just, I've been in the hobby pretty much ever since, obviously college and stuff. But it's always interesting to see when people get into the hobby, because a lot of people, they just got in just a few years ago, especially with the market boom and, how cards have kind of, gone in the last few years. When did you open your card store?
Our card store opened May 14th of last year. So May 14th of 2022.
Now, did you get into did you do the card store because you're like, hey, we're already doing the wax thing. Like, we should just translate that into a store?
Oh, kind of. Yeah. So we had been thinking about opening a store for several years. Actually had a friend of ours that really put it in motion and almost said, I want to do this. Why don't you guys come do it with me? And so we kind of, as a family, grouped up with him. He got the space. We kind of filled it with wax and cards, and it took off from there. So yeah, it's something we've been thinking about for a couple years. And especially as I got a little bit older in the business that I'm in, I'm thinking, I won't be doing this forever. Like to do something that's a little more laid back and relaxed. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I could, we don't have a storefront, but I could live in a card store. I go to my local LCS down the street, and I just find myself, I'm like, oh man, I've been in here for 2 hours. We're just chopping it up, talking about cards, ripping mega boxes. Next thing I know, I'm spending $200-300 on mega boxes, just having fun in there, So yeah. I enjoy it. I think LCS is, and I say this as a breaker, I think the LCS is a very important part of the hobby. I know a lot of people are getting allocated out of the business. Some of the LCSs are not getting the same allocations they used to get. And I think that's wrong. I will say that as a breaker, even though I would love to have more boxes myself, more cases myself. But I think LCS is that it has that just tradition feel, You go to the store with your dad or your parents or your friends, and you're ripping packs and you're having a good time. And I think it's very important.
I agree with you. We currently, we don't get any allocation of anything at our store right now. We are working on that, and I believe it will happen soon. But most everything we have, we owned before we ever opened the shop. We have people bring stuff in, to us, and then I'll just be perfectly frank with you. I'm still a good customer of the card shop that I shop at. I'm in there almost as much as I'm in here, and I open there. So, it hasn't really changed what I do very much at all. So,
Yeah. What are you gonna $250,000? That's a good little chunk of change. You guys using it to propel the business? You guys using it family vacation, putting something aside? What are you guys gonna do with it?
My dad made the decision that he wanted to take, and we are doing a family vacation, and going to spend some of the money there, and then the rest of the money that's left is up to him, what he decides to do with it. And I'm sure he's got grandkids, and I'm sure he'll be sending a little bit everybody's way.
Yeah.
So I let him, I let him decide what he wanted to do with that. So, but yes, we are
Yeah.
going to enjoy it for sure.
I like that. I like that. And like I said before, I was so skeptical about it. And then my buddy AJ goes, dude, it's Mason and his dad from Ohio. I go, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And that's why I tell people this hobby is so big, but so small. You just start seeing these same people around, and I'm excited. I'm so happy that we got to do this, and you being my first interview, because it's the first time I've ever done it.
Yeah.
And I think it's fitting, being the Drew Jones Superfractor and Bowman in general. It just goes along with everything that we do. And I appreciate you coming on and getting this done. And maybe we could do this again and just talk baseball and whatever, talk Reds. Hope maybe we'll do this when the Reds are in the World Series.
Yeah, that would be super exciting. Yes, because my wife will tell you I don't speak a whole lot. I'm pretty quiet, but if you get me started on sports cards,
yeah,
say about that. So I'm happy to talk to you anytime you want to talk. We can talk any sport you want to talk, and especially the cards. Matter of fact, if we ever get together again, maybe I'll rip some while we're talking and see what we hit.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on going into the National?
Yes, sir. We are. Yes.
Oh, well, we got to link up then. We'll link up and do something.
Okay.
I'm trying to do something like this at the National, where it's live broadcasting,
Uh-huh.
where I'm just interviewing people as they walk by and asking questions, and it's just a long form of communication. And yeah, I'd love to have you on, and that way everyone can know, and they'll see your face again. Last thing. Did you see what Joey Votto said about Ellie De La Cruz? I totally forgot to bring this up.
I did see what he said. Yes, I did see what he said. So
that is high praise coming from somebody who has seen about all the best players that you can see.
Yeah. I think Joey sees something there, just like you said. He sees something there that he hasn't seen in other players, and so yeah, it's a cool moment. And it was cool for Joey Votto last night too. I was happy for him. I was skeptical of, is he going to come back and change the mojo of the team? And I think the team playing the way it's playing right now helps Joey Votto too, because I think it gives him that little extra, hey, I got to go out there and I got to be a player to fit in with these guys. And so I think it's a thing.
It takes a lot of pressure. It probably takes some pressure off him too. I mean, the guy's had that team on his shoulders for who knows how long. I mean, I can't even count the years.
Yeah.
He's never had a real foundation around him, Yeah. And I think it's good. I think, and he might make him he might feel a little younger now with that team.
Yeah.
And don't overlook Matt McClain. That kid is a stud too. Like everybody's talking about Ellie, but Matt McClain is killing the ball too.
It was one of the things I talked to somebody about, and it was kind of, when you think about the Reds before this hot streak they're on, and you're thinking about when are they going to bring up De La Cruz, even before they brought up McClain, and they still got Encarnacion Strand down in the minors who's killing the ball. And it's like, how can a team that's under 500, how can they have this problem where if they bring up a player that's hot, you don't know where do you put them? It's kind of a weird situation. And now it's kind of it's kind of come full circle, in my opinion, because now you're seeing that it really is a legit problem, and they're not really a less than 500 team at this point. But it is, where do you play another legit player? I don't know where you put them on the team anymore. You know, I mean, you're sending
sometimes you got to force some moves and make some moves, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on once again. Plug Monty, go ahead. Plug your stuff. Plug the Ohio Sports Cards.
Okay, we do have an Instagram page at Best of Ohio Sports Cards. We're on Facebook as well. Come take a look at what we have. If you're ever in I'll throw out Dayton, Ohio. That's about an hour north of Cincinnati. We're in Troy, which is about another 15 minutes north. If you're ever coming up 75, we're about 1 minute off of Route 75. Come on in and see us. We're here. We love to talk sports cards. We got a lot of interesting stuff for you to see and rip. And I appreciate you having me on tonight and talk about this. And, hopefully we can. I'm sure we will see you in Chicago at the National. And hopefully, again, we can link up, whether it's because somebody pulled a big card or it's just talk sports again. I love it.
Yeah, of course. All right, Monty. Well, I appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you again. And hope to have you on again.
All right. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Monty. All right. That was awesome. I got to say, I love that shit. I could probably talk to him. I could probably talk to him all day. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sports, the Reds, prospecting, cards, LCS, all of that jam is right up my alley. I was getting goosebumps just talking about, that's how the person I am. I just get goosebumps talking to people like that about certain topics and their feelings on certain players and directions of teams. And it's just, I don't know. I just feel like it's in my blood. So appreciate everyone stopping by, following, listening. Go check out the podcast. Follow us on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all that jam. Download the podcast. Listen to the podcast. Go check out Monty and his sons and go rip some cards in Troy, Ohio. Thank you, fellas. I appreciate everybody. I really do. I'm so grateful that I can do. My daughters are in the pool right now. My wife's like keeping them quiet. I can do this, talk to people in sports cards, rip sports cards, take pictures of sports cards, talk about the hobby, and build relationships that people that I've never met, I've only seen or heard or talked to. And I love it, man. It's fun. I appreciate everybody who takes the time out of their day to listen to the pod and share the pod. I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And for that, we're out.